Imagine if you could find the time for everything you need to do without having to follow a perfect or strict timetable. I'm Salim, I'm a final year med student, and I've also done an undergrad and postgraduate degree. And over the years, I've figured out the most reliable and flexible system to schedule my months, weeks, days, and even hours, so that I could study as efficiently as possible and still have a personal life. So I'll go through this 4-part system to help you do this too. And instead of explaining how to plan your month first, I'll go through that last and you'll understand why later. Because first, you need to improve your organization for the week. And to help you understand how, I have a question. How many times have you successfully followed a perfect, strict timetable? I've been consistent with studying throughout med school and consistent with a bunch of other things in my life for years without ever following a timetable perfectly. So I'd say it's actually unreasonable and unnecessary to expect yourself to have perfect time management, because this overscheduling is going to make you overwhelmed, so you'll just end up falling behind. So instead of wanting a perfectly organized week, you need to create the sub-perfect week. To do this, write down what you'd want to do in a perfect week, and next to it, what you've actually been doing in the past few weeks. Your sub-perfect week would be a middle point between the two so that you can improve on your current organization. For me, something I'd do in a perfect week would be going to the gym 6 times, practicing the piano 6 times, studying 7 times, reading 6 times, and uploading a video every week. But in reality, I've compromised on one thing or another. So now, I gradually add just 1 day of piano or gym to progress towards that sub-perfect week, until it becomes normal for me. If you're studying, this could be adding another topic to go through in the week, or spending more time on a hobby of yours. Just plan 1 week for now, because as each week goes by, these progressive changes you make will compound your time management over the days so that you get close enough to that perfect week of yours. So now you've got an idea of how to realistically improve your weekly schedule, but how do you manage your time better on a day-to-day basis? There's a few parts to this, and the second is going to give you a lot more freedom compared with a typical schedule. So for the first part, I have another question. If there was one thing that, if you didn't do, would guarantee you'd fail to reach your goal, what would that one thing be? As an example, one thing that would guarantee me failing to grow this channel more would be to stop making videos. So the single most important thing for me is to keep uploading videos. If you have exams coming up, that one single thing that makes the difference between passing and failing could be doing enough practice questions or spending time on topics you're not confident in. Ask yourself this question for all of the goals you're working on from the weekly overview and to make it more specific. This gives you the exact tasks you need to do for the day, but now you need to know how to structure each day to maximize your time. And the best way to do this is to phase your day. And again, there's a few parts to this. The first is knowing what your phases are. For me, it's early and late morning, early and late afternoon, and evenings. Once you do this, separate your big tasks to the different phases of your day. We've already answered what your bigger tasks are from the first part of this section of the video. For me on a weekday, this would be going to the gym before med school early in the morning, doing flashcards during my commute to med school, practice questions after med school before dinner, then working on YouTube after dinner. On weekends, it's gym in the morning, studying a specific topic in the afternoon, and YouTube and piano for the evening. And I said that this can give you more freedom compared with a typical schedule. This is by making sure to allow for a margin of error between your phases. And what does this look like? So, if you thought that studying a topic would take you 1 hour, instead multiply this by 1.5 to give you an hour and a half. This is to give you some extra time for unexpected changes to your day so that you avoid the risk of overscheduling each phase and avoid overlapping different phases. And this also gives the benefit that if you finish a phase early, you can either use the extra time to take a short break now or start the next phase earlier so that you have some extra time at the end of the day to relax a bit more as a reward. The phases are there to spread your urgent tasks so that you don't get overwhelmed with how much you have to do. It's a good way to balance your energy throughout the day. And now you can organize your weeks and days, but how do you effectively manage the hours within a phase and manage all the other smaller tasks? There's 2 parts to this, and I guarantee you that if you do them both, you'll save hours every day. So in my videos, I aim to give personalized advice where the different parts of a strategy work together. And in the last part, I gave an example suggesting how long you might spend learning a topic. And this connects with this part of the system where you need to figure out exactly how long each big task in a phase takes. Because let's say with gym, I have to include the walk to the gym, being at the gym, and walking back. So even though gym is about 1 hour, the whole process takes about 2. And for studying a topic, you might plan to do it in 1 hour, but the time to get into deep focus means you spend a bit longer to go through that topic. But when when you figure out how long each of these big tasks take from start to finish, you'll get an idea of how much time you'll have left over for each phase. And that gets us to the next part, which is knowing how to batch small tasks within a phase. At the start of each day, write down all of the small tasks you can think of. Instead of doing them randomly throughout the day, go through these small tasks in batches if you have spare time at the end of a phase. It's how I'm able to reply to most of you in the comments. I reply during the gaps of time towards the end of a phase. For you, these smaller tasks might be to check your emails, organize your notes for your next phase, or even reply to your friends. Just anything that can be done quickly in the downtime of your phase. When I'm trying to be extremely efficient within a phase, I'd look for even minutes of downtime to slot these smaller things. For example, at the gym between exercise sets, I'd study some flashcards on my phone or even on the train. One thing I do want to say is that it's definitely important to take breaks too. So if you have over 10 minutes of free time in a phase, if you choose not to shift your next phases earlier, use that time to maybe go for a walk or just relax. And now I left planning the month for the end. And that's because planning the month has a lot of uncertainty. But when you've had time to plan your weeks and days, you get an idea of what you're capable of doing to then have a realistic plan for the month. So to make a plan for the month that you can repeat in the long term, there's a few things you should do. The first is to plan a buffer period. Designate the last 2 or 3 days as a buffer for unexpected changes, whether that's some work you need to catch up on or anything you've missed. This is useful for making small changes to project work you're doing or revisiting topics you need to spend more time on. It's also a good chance to reflect on the progress of your month so that you can plan ahead for the next month. The next thing you should do is set monthly milestones. Now that you have an idea of how much work you can get done in a day or week, you can start to take a look at the bigger picture. This could be setting a goal to finish your assignments, finish learning a module, or even making a certain amount of progress on personal milestones. This is a way to see if you are making reasonable progress towards your bigger goals, or if you need to spend more time on one thing and less on another. For example, I noticed that I was making good progress on the piano over the months with learning new pieces, but I didn't make as much relative progress on reading books. So I adjusted the time I spent for them to balance it out better. Use your monthly planning as a way to prioritize your most important goals so that you have a better idea of how to make your daily and weekly plans as goal-oriented as possible. But now a problem most people have is that even if you can organize your time effectively, it doesn't mean you'll know how to use it as efficiently as possible. And this is especially important when it comes to studying. I never wanted to spend all day studying, so over my time at uni, I figured out how to study as efficiently as possible so that I could do well in my exams and still maintain a personal life. So in this video here, I talk about how you can study faster without cramming so that you can do this too. So click the video to learn more.